Welcome to FRC Updates Now, first choice edition for Rapid React. I'm your host, Tyler Olds, and joining me today we got Jerry Budd, software developer, international distribution manager, and of course, first choice guru from AndyMark. How's it going, Jerry?
Good. How are you doing, Tyler?
Dude, I'm ready to rock and roll with Rapid React, getting back into things, and can't wait to talk about first choice here today. We'll be going over, by the way, a brief overview of first choice with focus on top tips and must-knows for both rookie and veteran teams, general ordering process, and then Jerry will be answering some questions submitted by the community and some FAQs, all coming up here on Fun.
Giving you a voice.
Making it loud our own way.
Welcome to the fun.
First Updates Now is supported by Kettering University. On average, Kettering students earn $45,000 to $70,000 over the course of their co-op program to help them graduate debt-free. 99% of students qualify for a merit scholarship, and you can apply for one of the 80-plus first scholarships worth up to $25,000 each. If you are a U.S. student grades 8 through 12, scan the QR code to stay up to date on info and events happening at Kettering and get a free Kettering t-shirt when you sign up by December 12, 2021. Fun is gearing up for the 2022 season and is looking for advertising partners that would be a great fit for our fans and also make it possible to keep us creating great content. If you're interested in your company or brand reaching over 100,000 unique individuals who are actively engaged in First for either recruitment, brand positioning, or product engagement, go to firstupdatesnow.com/info or reach out to us at admin@firstupdatesnow.com for our advertising partnership deck, and let's get your brand started on First Updates Now. So, Jerry, for Rapid React coming up here in First Choice, teams are going to have a couple of rounds of First Choice happening. They get 355 credits in the first round. Can you give us just a brief overview of First Choice, anything you want to kind of highlight, and then we'll really dive a bit deeper into it?
First Choice, just general overview, started quite a few years back with AndyMark and First kind of coming together and saying, okay, so we have these. A lot of these vendors want to donate some stuff, but they don't have enough to donate one to every team, or it makes sense to have two for every team. So it started as another way of teams to be able to get more items. So everything is a donation from another vendor. Usually, every once in a while, First does buy some of the stuff and then put it out here. But it's a good way to get more stuff to more teams, This year we have a 3D printer, which has been quite a few years since we had a 3D printer.
Yeah.
This one's a pretty expensive one. I've seen a lot of talk about it, so it's been interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll be highlighting some more of these products and what's going on in there, and maybe talking about any changes for round two as well too. Can we go over just some general dates for First Choice? We have a deadline coming up soon, and then there's kind of a round two. Can you talk a little bit more about how that process works?
Yep. Round one is currently open. It closes on December 2nd at noon Eastern time. Every date is about noon Eastern time. So you don't have till the end of that day. You have until noon Eastern time, whatever that is. I can't stress that enough. I can always get emails of, hey, I thought this ended today. It does end today at noon Eastern time.
It already did.
Yes. So be aware of that. December 2nd is when round one closes. The round one and round two priority list is essentially your team will put in this giant list of all these items that you possibly want to get. Since there are only so many per team, this is a good example right here. And you want to arrange these by what you want the most. So like right now, you can see the 3D printer is round 3 for this team. If there's only 50 of them, that means and 50 teams wanted it for round one, that means these are going to be gone. So by the time you get to round 3, it's pointless to put it in round 3 if you've got it in round 3.
All right, I'm moving it up.
So you have that, and you'll notice another good tip. You'll notice that it's highlighted red now. There's a big note saying you have to update to do this. So there's an update button there. Make sure you hit that update button, or it won't actually save those changes. There is no submit. You just keep updating the list as you want it until it's ready. Whatever that is on December 2nd when things close at noon Eastern time. Is the list that will be getting used for this process. The flow chart that is referenced on the web page on the first choice page, also the first page about Kit First Choice. This goes into detail of how this process works and what the system does to give each team the same amount of fairness. There is the randomization of all the teams in an order that is done by a simple Excel random function 14 billion times, and I click F5 as many times as I can, and then I get this order. I don't even look at what the team order is. It's all done by IDs in the background with a database, so I don't even know what team links to what. But this literally is the process to go through. For round one, it'll grab that first team available, say, hey, do you have enough credits for whatever your first round pick was? If so, you get it. If not, it goes to your next item. And every single team for every single round, it lets you get one item. It doesn't just bypass you if you don't get it. It makes sure that every team gets at least one item for every round until you're out of credits, until everybody's out of credits, or nobody has anything left on their list. So if the items, if you're selecting something that's out of stock 1,400 times, then it's going to go to the bottom of your list and your list is done. So be sure you have some stuff that you think will still be around for a ways.
Now, I read somewhere that it's kind of like a serpentine draft, right? Is that correct? So whoever is in the prioritization first, when it comes back around, they're going to be last in that.
Yep. Yeah. So for round one priority list does go top to bottom, and then the second one it'll go bottom to top and back and forth to try to keep it that same idea of as fair as possible amongst all the teams.
Now, what happens if a team doesn't submit for things? And we do have a round two, as we talked about, but do they get auto ship something, or do they just lose out on the credits?
Nope. You don't actually lose out on the credits, at least as far as this year, the season. The year 355 credits will be rolled over to round two, where we'll do the exact same thing again. The good thing about having a round two means there's more than likely new parts that are going to be coming in. Every year we've done this so far with a round two, there are new parts that show up on kickoff day. Some of those, it could be game specific because we can't release those yet. It could be something that just didn't make it to AndyMark yet. So it's because we need to have it in hand to know that we can actually do this. Otherwise, we would have to deal with a whole bunch of teams that really wanted this item, but it didn't make it in time for shipping. So we make sure all the items are actually on hand to be able to ship. There are the two items so far in round one that actually don't ship from us. The Stratasys 3D printer will actually come from them. And there's a gift voucher in there for another company that will actually ship directly from them. So like we've had Flex Seal tape in the past that ships from Flex Seal. So, and there's some stipulations like the 3D printer. Unfortunately, you do have to be a US team. So sorry, all international and Australians. If you have a shipping address that is US, as far as I'm concerned, or as far as the system cares, that's correct. So if you put in for the 3D printer and have a US shipping address, that's where it's going to go. If your team ended up getting it, otherwise it'll probably get cut from your list if you're an international team with an international shipping location. Otherwise, big list of items. Like I was saying, round two could end up being more things. More than likely, they will be. That we happen to have more of these still. Yeah. But there's a bunch of good items in there. I do have a couple examples with me that I think are actually useful if you're a team.
Well, let's go over those couples, and we'll go through some general questions as well too. So what do you got in mind?
Okay. So one big thing that I've always been a fan of, Vhb tape. I don't know if anybody uses this, but this stuff, if you want something to stick to your robot without like having to deal with screws, nuts, bolts, whatever, and it's a big roll. Like you can see, this is a giant roll of Vhb tape that you can get. So highly adhesive stuff. Don't put it to anything you don't want to not come off of because it'll stick. A lot of teams in the past years have been getting more into spring rollers, I forget what these are called now. Vulcan Springs. They're on there somewhere.
Yeah, we'll bring that up on here. Vulcan Springs packet.
There you go. Yeah, those. So these things have been actually pretty useful for anybody using extensions. They work really well as a counterweight mechanism or to counter the action of having a heavy weight. So you'll see that in a lot of companies this year coming out with Climber in a box.
Yeah.
Hence AndyMark, and there might be a few others out there, but Climber in a box. That we have the same kind of concept with some parts there too. This one is kind of a mixture of stuff. There's a cable in here. You'll actually see this. This can be useful if you're into electronics and you're trying to do a custom cable where you only need 4 pins because this is a 4-pin wire. It can be useful because you have a whole bunch of different connectors. You can do a bunch of different lengths. It could just be for development. That's a good thing. So remember, a lot of these parts, maybe they don't go on your current robot, but a lot of teams can, or a lot of your kids can use them for learning.
Sure.
So that's good. Wago tools, you can never go wrong with having a small screwdriver if you're into electronics and trying to plug things in. A lot of people like Wago has a curved one, but hey, if it's free, it's free. This is a really good screwdriver to have as an electronics guy. Hex shaft collars of every color. And I've only got 3 examples here. These things are more popular than you can believe. They go out every single year. Everybody loves the hex colored shaft collars because you can get your team colors. One of my favorites, Fluke has always been donating some big Fluke multimeters. These are actually pretty expensive. So, I mean, it's really worth it to actually have one on hand. They can do a lot of good stuff for your electronics team. This is the one they have this year. It's an AM530 probe. But it's a really good, useful tool for your team to have to be able to test connectivity and everything else. There's a Cypress Semiconductor Kit. This is essentially a prototyping kit for if you have a programmer that wants to do some fun stuff. I've seen these been used on robots for lighting. If they want to do some custom other stuff with inputs, they can do that. There's a lot of bearings this year as well, roller bearings. This is a kind of a V roller bearing that goes onto a rail. I don't know if you can tell that, but these are really good if you have a mechanism that rides across a rail. AndyMark has done a lot more brackets. So there's a bunch of metal brackets that are useful. Some of these have been used in old bumper kits, but they still might work for this year's kit. It's a really useful features to be able to slide bumpers on and off. Brackets of all shapes and sizes are very useful to be able to connect some things to. And, oh yeah, did I mention, we have these.
Those look familiar.
We still have
Is that packaging material?
It can be sometimes. But yes, we still have a bunch of these. These are wildly effective for training your drivers if you have one of your old robots.
How does shipping for something like this work, by the way? So, like, are the teams responsible for that, or if it's through First Choice, is shipping included for something like that?
It is. The teams are responsible for shipping, so every team gets the same amount of credits. Shipping, unfortunately, depending on how far you are from AndyMark, it can get a little more expensive. The way the system is set up is it gives a flat authorization for certain locations based on 2 different shipping methods, an economy option and then a priority or overnight option. And what we do is once we have that in, once we figure out what all the teams get after the priority list process, then we know our weights and sizes and that kind of stuff, so we can actually give what a valid shipping cost is. For example, FedEx Ground, I think everybody is authorized $75 because if I'm shipping to California and it happens to be, I don't know if extrusion's in this year, but in the past we've had these big pieces of extrusion and some batteries and some other heavy stuff. It ends up being pretty expensive to ship. So we have to be able to have the authorization to be able to charge against a card, and the processing of 2,000 plus orders is pretty time consuming. Just doing it this way already, where we already know we can charge against a card. So I can't imagine trying to do that after the fact, to go to each individual team one by one by one by one. Take some time.
So before we continue on here with our First Choice show with Jerry Budd from AndyMark, let's hear a word from our sponsor, Kettering University, and how you can graduate debt-free attending Kettering.
When I was considering where to go to college, one of the biggest things for me was figuring out how I was going to be able to pay for college. And it wasn't really until I came to Kettering to one of the Dog Days of Summer events that I figured out how I was going to be able to do that. And it was actually because of this senior chemical engineering student. She was getting ready to graduate, and she had told me about all of her phenomenal experiences, both on co-op and here on campus. But more importantly, she told me that she was going to graduate debt-free. And that was an eye-opener for me. That was the first time I'd ever heard that from a college student, and so that's when I knew that I was sold. So really from there, as soon as I came to Kettering, I knew that that was going to be my goal. I wanted to graduate debt-free. And I did that through a variety of ways. First, of course, the co-op experience was a tremendous help. But I even looked at ways to work here on campus. So I was a federal work study student. I worked in a variety of organizations, and that not only gave me the extra funds, but also different opportunities to meet people and understand our resources here at Kettering. Also looking at scholarships not only here at Kettering University, but even from my hometown and other sources, all of this cumulatively helped me to graduate debt-free.
Let me ask you from a shipping perspective there. We have a lot of international teams. You deal with international a lot yourself.
Mm-hmm.
What is maybe some of the more popular items that would be good for international teams that would also maybe be shipping friendly as well too?
Anything that's a little bit smaller is quite helpful, or things that can shrink down, like heat shrink tubing. If you need some of that's in there. It can be bundled up pretty small. There are notes on a few things. There is so we have some extrusion, spacer extrusion, and some gear stock and pulley stock. Those things are a little bit heavier and larger. So those will end up adding a little bit to your costs. Last year, we did have a team that got the Skystone kit. I know they look like small Lego bricks. Those are actually relatively large bricks. And with 8 of them, it's its own box by itself.
Sure.
So shipping that to like the UK could be quite hefty expensive. So just be aware of the notes on the pages. That usually works pretty well. A lot of the sensors are pretty small, so that works out pretty well.
How about for rookie teams, where maybe some suggestions for teams coming into this for the first time? What would maybe be some good pickups for them?
So if I'm talking to rookies, the first thing I try to direct them to is the default priority list. If you scroll back up a ways on the top, on the left, at the very bottom category is one that says default priority list. This is actually a good list of kind of the generic, hey, if I want a control system, I can add all that stuff to my priority list. You can do 2 options, either adding it to your current priority list or replace your priority list. So if you click on each one of those, it'll show you different things. There is a rookie list on there. So if you have no idea what you want, you can just go to that list, say add to priority list, and then you can go edit your priority list and change the order. Maybe you want sensors more than you want extrusion, or maybe you want to get rid of the extrusion after that's added. You can edit all this in your priority list, which actually, if you wouldn't mind, run back to your priority list. We did kind of go over this before, but you can add, subtract on the right. You can remove by the checkbox. All that options are there. Dragging and dropping is just click and drag and drop to move. To make
sure you hit update, right?
And make sure you hit update.
When you look at like things like, if we go back to the lists that were created, like this rookie one here, is this going to be for only the amount of first choice credits there are, or is this going to be for more than that in case
this will dump in? I'm not sure. Probably more than that, actually. Do
you mind if I'm going to hit replace?
Yeah,
we'll
go
see
ahead.
What happens. So hopefully Team 9999 won't mind.
Yeah, and then at the very top, it actually tells you how many credits are being used.
So 855 in this one.
Yep. And in the past, we've always just kind of said, hey, at least make sure there's double of whatever you get for this round. So 355 credits is what you get. So as long as you put in like 710, you should be able to use up all of your credits.
Sure.
Unless that's your strategy. If your strategy is to save those credits, that works too. But in the past, we've had a lot of teams that thought whatever they put in the priority list is what they're going to get. Remember, we don't have enough for all the teams. That's what the point of this is. So you want to make sure you have enough credits in there that you're going to get stuff, even if you don't get some of the things you really wanted.
And then just from a general accessibility, by the way, and there are some other great resources you can go to learn more about very specifics in first choice, which is why we're trying to overview this a little bit on here. But from a general access, this has to be accessed through like the team. Do you get your login through the team dashboard? Where can teams go for something like that?
Yep. If you do forget, if you actually click on the login on the very top of the bar on the left, there's the login button. So this is where everybody logs in. There is if I forgot password, it'll actually take you through the steps of where to find your password. The first or second mentor on the team in the first portal should have access to this, where they can go into the page, find their password, and go to it. One confusion that we've had in years past is this is not the PDV. If you got the PDV, product discount voucher, or whatever product donation voucher,
sure,
whichever title we make that. If you ended up getting one of those, you'll see both of those in there. Just make sure you're using your first choice password, not your PDV code, to log in, and your team number, and you should be good to go.
One other thing to mention too is that First Choice is kind of one of a few different parts in the whole part of kickoff and getting kits, right? We have the kickoff kit and then the virtual kit as well too. So very important to teams to make sure you're aware of all these different ones that are coming through too. But specifically here, we're talking about First Choice for it.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff for teams to be able to handle. Of course, there's information everywhere. Get a couple of your kids to start looking up information, because now I don't believe one person can handle all of the information you can get for FRC.
And also, I do want to give a big shout out if you're looking for some more tips. Spectrum 3847 just released today a First Choice and Voucher guide they came out with. Now, this is not official or anything like that, but this is a great resource if you're interested in going through some of their recommendations that they have. And Spectrum, obviously a fantastic team that has more things about the virtual kit of parts and vouchers as well too. So if you're looking for some more resources, teams, go check out the Spectrum 3847 kit. We'll put a link in the comment section or in the description for this video if you're interested in learning a bit more about that. So Jerry, as we start to wrap up a little bit on here, we'll get into some questions that we had submitted. Anything else that you want to cover in particular before we get into those questions?
I don't think so. I think they've pretty much covered everything I can think of.
Perfect. Well, we do have go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, Tyler. I do have one. If you have any problems on the site whatsoever, First Choice at AndyMark.com is the email. It should be pretty simple. It's just change the word "by" to the @ symbol and
sure
for the URL, and that'll go directly to me. I usually respond within a couple hours. Even sometimes late at night, I end up doing it because it's First Choice, and I want to make sure teams are getting what they can.
Yeah, and if you're on the First Choice page, click Contact Us, and you'll see that First Choice at AndyMark.com email. Awesome. So a couple of questions that we took a couple submissions ahead of time. You answered some of them, so we'll get to the ones that we didn't fully go through. We have Nathaniel from Team 5231 asking, does Jerry or AndyMark find it overwhelming trying to supply so many teams, and what is it like to see teams using your products in different and new ways that maybe you even didn't think of?
Overwhelming, yes. It's always overwhelming every single year. The amount of orders that we suddenly have on one day to be able to ship when it's a process that we're not even used to is the warehouse kind of goes up crazy the first day as we try to sort them all out. So we definitely just keep that in mind. We're going to try to start shipping as soon as we can, but it usually takes us at least a week to get through all the priority list orders. If not a week and a half to 2 weeks. So even if you've put in your First Choice priority list today, we don't even know what you're going to get until December 8th, which is the day that we start shipping. So give us some time, we'll get it to you. And you should get a tracking number for that information. As far as how teams use it, I'm always amazed at seeing how teams use anything from First Choice parts to any vendor's parts, seeing some of the stuff that is out there and wild different uses, like the AM1 4U chassis being used as mechanisms for intakes because it has the right holes for the right gearbox that they want to use. It's amazing seeing the different uses of the things as they're planned to be used this way, but yet we're going to use them in a completely different direction. It's pretty cool.
Absolutely. We have Andrew from Team 6657. I wanted to ask a little bit more. We talked about the Stratus printer a little bit, but how does something like the Stratus printer make it into this? Is it just you contact them and say, hey, we got 50 to give you, and we go through that way? Or can you talk about how maybe some of these unique items or products make it into First Choice?
Yep. So AndyMark as our company, our stuff ends up going in as a donation to First every year because we've known this process for a while. The Stratasys one, I don't know the actual backstory behind it, but did you try to add 2 there?
I tried to add 9,000 of them actually.
Oh yeah, you can only get 1.
Oh. I can try.
Yeah, but you can try. The Stratasys, I don't know the actual backstory of how it got in there. I worked with the Kit Parts. I don't remember her correct title. Kate Pilot. Yeah. I believe it's Kit Parts manager or owner or either way. I work with her
quite a bit. Guru is the term we've been using. So
Guru, there you go.
There we go.
She's the one that everybody usually contacts or gets directed to at First for, hey, we have this thing we want to donate to FRC teams, and it goes through them. She works with the company to just figure out what they have, what they can donate, if it makes sense for a team. And all that logistics. And then I essentially get a list of, hey, here's the stuff that we want to we want to push out for this year's first choice, and we work on the logistics of getting that item, what it's going to take to ship, all that kind of stuff. How many credits, that kind of thing. If you didn't notice, the 3D printer is all of your 2022 season credits. So if you do get that in round 1, you won't get any additional credits.
Okay, so that includes round 2 credits then too, just to clarify.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Makes sense. Last question here from Tal from 5431. More of a comment and maybe a response from AndyMark, but says there are so many products, mainly electrical components such as like RSIs, Robo-Rios, FRC radios, life cams, lists a whole bunch of things that are not currently available for first choice in 2022. So are these things that we might see in round 2, or can you talk about why some products may be added or dropped year over year?
There is always a possibility of anything in round 2. Biggest reason why it doesn't actually make it in round 1 is because we had this idea of this thing being in it, or a company really wants to donate it, but we were not able to get it to AndyMark in time for round 1 to open. So a lot of that stuff will end up being in round 2. The other big reason would be that it's game specific. So, if I have a game piece that, although maybe we threw a twist in and this is this year's game piece and we're just trying to fake everybody out.
Please no.
So bring back the fuel. Who knows? But usually round 2, if it's a game specific, obviously can't put it a brand new game piece into round 1 because it would be a little obvious that, hey, this is a game piece. But hey, maybe if it's not obvious it's a game piece, maybe it could still be the game piece.
Well, let me ask you, obviously we're still in the middle of the pandemic right now. Supply chains have been disrupted a lot for things. So has any of that factored into, or, even, companies, the way that they've been donating has changed a lot too. So has any of that factored in? Like, have you seen less suppliers for 2022 versus maybe like 2020, 2019, that sort of thing?
I think we saw a lot less suppliers that donated last year because of everything that was going on. This year, it seems like there's actually quite just as many as there used to be in the past, if not more, that have looked at it. I don't know how many are actually going to make it because of that supply issue. But yeah, there's definitely it's been a hard time, and we're hoping there's going to be quite a bit more in round 2 as well.
Well, we look forward to seeing that. Of course, dates wise, so round 1, let's just go over some general dates real quick one more time on here. So round 1, that locks out on December 2nd at noon Eastern, right, Jerry?
Yep.
Okay.
Noon Eastern.
And then round 2 is going to open up on kickoff.
Kickoff day.
That will lock off
noon Eastern.
Yeah, at noon Eastern as well. Awesome. That will also close then on January 20th at noon Eastern as well. Absolutely. Yep. So we look forward to that. So teams, if you got any questions, you can always reach out. Once again, Jerry provided that contact email on there. You can reach out to First as well, or there's obviously some great community resources out there for you to take a look at. But make sure you get your first choice picks in so you get those credits used up. Make sure you get your priority. Jerry wants you to pick lots and lots of fuel, so go ahead and do that. So, but once again, Jerry, Bud from AndyMark, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us about first choice. Looking forward to how this is going to be working with teams, of course, with the Rapid React Challenge, how that might integrate there, and can't wait, of course, to see what AndyMark as a company is coming out with for the 2022 season. Thanks for taking the time, Jerry.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks to Kettering University for their support of this video. Kettering University is the leader in new programs of expertise, including artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, and automotive engineering design. If you are a U.S. student grades 8 through 12, scan the QR code to stay up to date on info and events happening at Kettering and get a free Kettering t-shirt when you sign up by December 12th, 2021. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to stay up to date on our new videos. Keep the conversation going and provide your input to our content. Watch our live shows at twitch.tv/firstupdatesnow. Join our Discord at discord.gg/firstupdatesnow and check out Fun FTC on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and First Updates Now on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter.